Hello, pilots of the internet. Welcome to PowerUp. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to fold Valkyrie, which is a wonderful paper airplane that flies very, very well with the PowerUp 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and yep, it flies well on its own too. So with that said, as you can see, it looks like a very simple paper airplane. It might not be the most intriguing in appearance, but it's definitely worth folding for its performance. And you can see on the bottom, it actually uses some interesting origami to make all these layers lock together in a very elegant fashion. And that's what makes this plane so aerodynamic and why it works so well with the motors. So with that said, let's get started. In order to fold Valkyrie, you're going to need an 8.5 by 11 or A4 sheet of paper. And you're also going to want some scissors and a ruler, because the first thing we're going to do is cut a portion of the top edge of the paper off. And the way you decide how much is whether you are using this with the PowerUp motors or if you're just flying this on its own. So if you're using it with the PowerUp motors, you want the total length, the longest side of your paper, to be 10 inches. So using a US letter sheet, we're just going to cut 1 inch off, and we'd measure and cut there. I actually have one pre-cut. If you are using this just on its own, you're going to cut the top 2 inches off. You want the longest side of your paper to be 9 inches. So here you can see I've already cut one to size. This is just 10 inches tall, and we're going to use that. And you can see the key issue here is if it's too long, the propeller is going to hit the back edge of the plane. So that's why we wanted to cut this top inch off. And if you just folded it down, the layers kind of get thick and clunky. So with that said, let's go ahead and begin with this shorter sheet, having cut 1 inch off that top edge. And we're going to fold this right edge to the left edge. And now with that done, we're going to go ahead and fold this here to our folded edge, just kind of making that triangle that is so common in paper airplanes. And then I'll flip this over and fold the other side to match. And once I've done that, I can go ahead and open my paper up into this orientation. The next step is to just fold this top edge, the top point rather, down, and what we want to do is we want to fold and make our crease about 1.25 inches from that top edge, just a little more than 1 inch. This is fine to estimate. Anything close to that's going to be completely fine. And we can open that back up and you can see we've got that crease there. And now what we want to do is fold this inner edge to land on that crease. And it should look something like that. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side as well. Okay, and your plane should look like this. Our next step is to fold this top point down again, and what we want to do is when we fold it, we want the length of this section to be about 1 inch. And you can see I've got a nice grid that helps me estimate, but anything close to that is going to be fine once again. And you just crease across the top like so. And this next step is really cool. It's a little bit more complicated, but it's going to make a tab for us that is going to later lock the plane together. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just sliding my finger into this pocket, and I want to make a crease that runs right along this top edge. So I'm just lifting it out like so and running along that edge. And then I can pin this side down with one hand and flatten this whole pocket like so using the other hand. It should look like that, and you can see here we've made that tab. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm just sliding one finger into the pocket, using this edge here as kind of my guide as I open that up. And then I flatten the whole thing down like so. Okay, and your plane should look like this. Next, I'm just going to fold this top edge here into the center once again. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And now I'll go ahead and open that back up on both sides. And I want to fold this edge here to land on this diagonal crease that we just made. So it should look just like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And now we're going to perform a step where we're swinging this edge in just like so. But what we want to do is tuck this tab right here behind this layer as we do so. So you can see I'm kind of lifting this layer forward and swinging that in behind and tucking it like so as I close the whole thing. So here I'll show you kind of a flat view of it this time. Pulling this tab back just a little bit, swinging that closed, and I just tuck that tab right behind as I do that. And if you've done everything correctly here, you should see that your layers are all locked in the middle section. And that's exactly what we want. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fold the plane in half on its existing center crease like so. And I want to fold wings, and I'm going to fold nice and broad wings starting just above the nose. And it's going to slope slightly upwards towards the back of the plane. And something like that is a great wing. And we'll just flip the paper over and fold our other side to match. Okay, and we'll open that up. And now you can see we are essentially finished, but what we need are some winglets on the outside of the plane. And I'm actually going to collapse it back into this orientation. And what I want to do is I'm going to fold my winglet parallel to this edge of the paper. So I want the crease I make to run parallel to that edge. Just like so, and then I'll flip it over and fold my second winglet to match the first one. And you can see now when we open this up, we have a finished Valkyrie. And this, again, it looks like such a simple plane, but the way those layers lock together makes it fly very nicely. It makes it very aerodynamic. So let's take a look at how we connect our module to the plane. You can see here we have a crossbar and the module itself. And what you want to do is you want to align your crossbar like this with your module. And then you just twist it until it snaps on like so. And then you can of course slide this forward and backward as you want. But we're going to go ahead and connect using these clips on the bottom, connect this plane onto the module, and then we can decide exactly where we want our crossbar to go. And what you usually want to do is slide the crossbar up until these outer edges are at the leading edges of the wings. And you can see here you have what is actually now a fully finished Valkyrie. Now this will fly well. It should fly very well just as it is, but if you find that it's nosediving at all, you will want to bend the back edges of your wings up slightly. It's called giving a plane up elevator. You could even cut elevators, which we show in our book. You can cut elevators and bend those elevators up, and it will have the same effect where instead of diving down, it's going to glide really nicely for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and check out some other videos here that we think you might like. I'll see you next time.